Hey, it's Bits from the Past Gaming, making another video. That Sonic Collector's Edition has my Sega juices flowing, so I wanted to make another video with an update of my Sega Genesis collection. It's been a long time since my last video for Sega Genesis games, and I've got a lot of games since then, so I wanted to go over some of them and just, display my Sega Genesis collection because right now I'm feeling the Sega nostalgia. So we'll start with, it's going to be a 2 or 3 part series. The first video here is going to be Sega exclusives, and what I mean by that is games that did not appear on the Super Nintendo. They were only on the Sega Genesis for that generation of consoles. So we'll just get with the video. The first game is Altered Beast. Altered Beast was, I believe, an arcade game, and then it came on the Genesis as well, and it was, I believe, a pack-in with the Sega Genesis, and it was a fan favorite, and I remember playing this as a kid. I remember a bunch of us huddled around, just minds blown that there was this type of game that we could play in our house and on our couch, and being able to play it on the Sega, since I had a Sega and I didn't have a Super Nintendo, definitely was a bonus. So you have that game, Altered Beast. Next you have the series that you can't not talk about if you are talking about Sega Genesis, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the Sega Classics Edition. I have to get my hands on the non-Classics Edition, which I'm sure I can do. I just haven't got around to looking for it, to be honest with you. But you can't talk about Sega without talking about Sonic. He was pretty much their mascot, kind of like Mario is for Nintendo, and the games were excellent. Sonic 1, you have Sonic 2, which I believe is the best of the Sonic games. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've actually played them, but Sonic 2 I remember playing countless hours on, and it was really fun. And I have Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, but they're only cart. I haven't got the complete versions yet. But a really good series. Definitely showed what the Genesis can do as far as the speed of the game and everything. Next we have a brawler, side-scrolling brawler, Streets of Rage, fan favorite brawler series, and probably the best brawler series in my opinion. I know some people argue Final Fight, but Streets of Rage is where it's at, and the grittiness of the Sega sound and just the overall music and combat and everything. This game, or this series of Streets of Rage, is where it's at for brawlers. Which Streets of Rage 2 is definitely the best of the series. Streets of Rage 2 had it all. It had the vibe, it had the music, it had the combat, everything about this game. It's just an excellent side-scrolling brawler, and probably the best brawler ever made. Some might argue, but it probably is the best brawler ever made. It just hits on all notes. And then we have Streets of Rage 3, which was the last of the Streets of Rage series, I believe, and this game is hard. It is challenging. You can try to play it and tell me it's not challenging, but believe me, this game is definitely challenging compared to the other two. I played with my brother, and man, was it a challenge. But it was fun, and it's different. It definitely has a different feel and a different vibe. I got this Streets of Rage 3 at a flea market for like $40. It has some damage on the bottom, but for $40 when this is a $90 to $100 game, is pretty damn good, even with that slight damage. The manual and the cart are in excellent condition. The rest of this case is in excellent condition, except for that little corner there. So I kind of couldn't pass on that deal. Next we have Toe Jam and Earl, and this was a fan favorite on the Genesis as well. Just a funky 90s, completely 90s game. Had two, hip hop esque aliens as the characters in the game, so you could play as a friend. It was actually more fun to play with a friend. You just going around all these random maps, trying to find pieces of a spaceship because your spaceship blew up. Just a really entertaining and fun game. Just mess around with your friends. I remember playing that for countless hours when I was a young kid. Next we have the second one. This is Toe Jam and Earl Planet on Funkatron, and I thought it was a fun game. It changed the first one was. The first one was like a top-down, run around the map type of thing, and this was more of a side-scrolling type of game. But I actually enjoy this one as well. It's definitely different than the first, but it still captures, what Toe Jam and Earl is about. It's just funky fun. Is pretty much all I can say about it. Next we have, this was actually on Super Nintendo. I don't know why I didn't think about that. But Earthworm Jim is mostly known for its Sega release. Really kooky game. Definitely encapsulates the 90s as well. Just a really fun game. Yeah, pretty much everyone knows about Earthworm Jim by now. Definitely a must-have. Next we have Mutant League Football. And Mutant League Football, really fun game. This one's getting up in price, but it's really fun. It's bloody, it's gory, it has aliens playing football. You can fall off the field into space. You can blow up in landmines. You can kill the ref. So it's really fun. Really great game to have. There's Mutant League Hockey too, which I really want to get hold of. I just haven't been willing to dish out $100 for it. But I got this in a package deal with another game that I'll show shortly, and I had to pick it up because it's a really fun game. There's also a PSP collection type game that has Mutant League Football on it. I think it's EA Classics. Next we have General Chaos, another really fun game, even better if you play with a friend. It's basically a war combat game where you have two squads of soldiers and you pretty much just want to eliminate the enemy, and just a really fun game. And I got this bundled with the Mutant League Football, so I didn't pay full price on both of those. I got a deal on it, which was really nice. That was at Too Many Games, this past Too Many Games. Alright, next we have another awesome series, Golden Axe. And Golden Axe, really fun, side-scrolling, not quite brawler. I guess it could be considered a brawler. But it has, a fantasy feel to it. Really fun. I actually have the first Golden Axe arcade unit, like the actual arcade, but it's in my brother's garage. Got that one for really cheap. So if I ever want the full experience, I can just go to my brother's garage and play the arcade of it. But Golden Axe, really fun. Fun to play with a friend as well. Most of these games, you'll realize, back in this time, couch playing was promoted. So a lot of games were two-player and were a lot much more fun, in my opinion, to play them with other people in person than the online stuff that goes on now. but that's just my opinion. Next we have Golden Axe 2. Pretty much the same thing, just a continuation of the series. Next we have a kooky game that I had to pick up just because of the cover, Dashin' Desperados. And basically what I get from it is it's like a time trial racing game, so you try to race your friend or the computer, and whoever gets the best time wins. Just a really weird game that's semi hard to find. It's just something I had to pick up. Next we have the X-Men. Dominated the 90s. The X-Men cartoon on TV was amazing. Everyone loved the X-Men, comics, everything. The X-Men game, while it is hard, there's no denying that it's a hard game. It was really fun and awesome to play as your favorite X-Men characters, and just a game that you should probably have if you have the Genesis. It's not that expensive, so definitely add it to your Genesis collection. Next we have Echo the Dolphin. I don't really remember playing this as a kid. I remember thinking it was stupid, and I still kind of do think it's stupid. And a lot of people say it's a bad game, but it is a Sega exclusive, and I had to have it in the library just for that reason. I'm going to give it a try eventually, but no rush on that because I don't really care. Next we have Battletech. Bought this game when it was like dirt cheap, and now it's really going up in price. I got this for like $5 or $6, and now it's I think like $25 to $30. I saw. I actually did play this, and it actually is pretty fun. You're just a big mech, and you run around shooting, blowing up things. Really cool. And to get it on the cheap, because now it's more expensive, is even better. Next, we have a game that I love, and that is Pigskin Foot Brawl. And this game is American football mixed with rugby, and it is in the medieval setting. So you'll see the maps on the back are in like medieval castle, outside of the castle, and stuff like that. And basically, you're trying to score touchdowns by running the ball. There's no downs. It's just pretty much continuous gameplay. But you can pick up weapons like knives and maces and rope and stuff like that, and you actually can kill the opposing players for a short period of time, and then they'll come back. And just a really fun game. If you have not played Pigskin Foot Brawl, I think it's a very underrated game and a very fun game to play. You can play alone or with a friend. I think it's fun both ways. Next, we have a game that is obviously on multiple platforms, but this Championship Edition was only on the Sega Genesis, whereas Super Nintendo, I think, had the Turbo Edition. So I had to add this. Street Fighter 2, not much to say. Probably one of the best fighting games ever made. Really fun. And Sagat is my favorite Street Fighter character, just in case you wanted to know. Always been a Sagat fan. Other than that, probably Ken. Alright, next we have Rocket Knight Adventures. Never actually played this game, surprisingly, but I heard it's pretty awesome. So when I get around to playing my Nomad, I might have to give this a try first thing, just to experience it. But it's one that I had to pick up, and I got this on the cheap too through Facebook Marketplace, and something that I wanted in my Sega Genesis collection with the possibility of playing, or the probability of playing. So next we have another Sega hit, Kid Chameleon. I did play this on my Nomad, and it's really fun. I got stuck at this one part where there was like a big column with waterfall, and I couldn't figure out how to get up to the next part of the level. But I'll try it again from the beginning and see if I can figure it out. But a really fun game. You pick up different costumes. Just a platformer. Next we have Toxic Crusader. I know this is on the regular Nintendo and maybe some other platforms, but I do not believe this was on the Super Nintendo. And this game, it's really challenging, but it's really fun as well. And it's even better if you play with a friend. So if you have a Game Genie, and I plan on getting a Game Genie soon, so I can play this throughout the whole game, because I can never make it through this game because it's really tough and challenging. But I feel it's a fun game, especially playing with a friend. But just be prepared to be frustrated because it is definitely challenging. Next we have, in my opinion, one of the most underrated games for any console, and that is Green Dog, the Beach Surfer Dude. Still dirt cheap game, so go pick it up now before any word gets out, or maybe word will never get out, which would probably be better because then you could get your hands on it and play it. But this game is phenomenal, I think, in my opinion. It's a great platformer, has nice music that fits the game perfectly, composed by a real composer or a real musician. So really fun game. If you haven't played it, highly recommend going out and playing this. And like I said, it's cheap, so you don't have to worry about breaking the bank. Definitely a hidden gem. I don't know why it's not talked about more. But hey, little treasure there. Next we have Mickey Mouse, Castle of Illusion. Really fun game. Basically a side-scrolling platformer where you're Mickey Mouse and you run around. I don't remember playing this one too much, but I remember playing this one, and that is the World of Illusion. I have to get the hard case. I have the cardboard box one, but I'd rather have the hard case, so I might have to sell this and get the hard case version. But this game is phenomenal as well, for a Disney game and a Mickey Mouse game. I just played it with my brother not too long ago, and we had a blast playing it. It's just a fun side-scrolling platformer, and it encapsulates like pretty much all of the Disney fantasy worlds, which is really cool. Each level seems to be from a different type of movie. You have like The Little Mermaid, Alice in Wonderland, and a few others. Just a really fun, and even better with co-op, because you actually have to work together to get up to certain platforms and do certain things. So definitely a game that's even better if you play with someone else, but you can play play by yourself as well. So next we have another Genesis cult classic, Vector Man. I remember playing this when it first came out, but I haven't played it in a long time, so I don't know if it stands up to the test of time. But I had to have it because it is, part of Sega history, and it was definitely beloved, and tons of people wanted it when it came out. I remember I had it. A friend of mine got his hands on one too, and I just remember playing it. Like I said, it's been a long time, so I don't remember how awesome it is or not. So I'm going to have to find that out. This is another one, cardboard box and greatest hits. I want to find the real deal Holyfield, so hopefully I can run across that, and then I'll just sell this for dirt cheap to someone, because I didn't pay that much for it. Next we have Decap Attack. Never played this game, but I've heard from multiple people that it's an amazing game and a fun game to play. And it's a Sega exclusive, so I figured why the heck not pick it up. And I'll give it a try eventually. Unfortunately, my backlog of games is pretty steep, so when I get a chance, because I play most of my Sega games on my modded Nomad now, so if I'm out and I have the Nomad with me, that's when I give a lot of these games a try. The modded Nomad I have is pretty nice. I'll have to make a video on that. But there's Decap Attack. Next we have Skitchin. Just a kooky 90s game. You're just a rollerblader. It's kind of like Road Rash, but on rollerblades. You pick up weapons. You can hang on the back of cars and they pull you and make you go faster. I remember having a blast with this game when it came out. So I can't wait to be able to play it again and see if it stands up to the test of time. Then we have Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Quest. Honestly, it looks pretty bad. It looks horrible, but it's a Sega exclusive, so I had to have it. And I think this one is kind of rare to find. I think the price is really going up on it. So being able to pick it up now before it becomes ridiculously expensive is nice. And this thing is in like excellent condition, except for the top being ripped off here, but like the artwork and the inside and everything is like really nice condition. So awesome to have that. And then lastly, for the Sega exclusive type games, we have Acme All-Stars. This is basically 2 sports games in one, but you play as the Tiny Toons. So it's really fun, and each Tiny Toon has its own like special ability or way of playing. So they all have a different feel, which is nice. And this actually is capable of up to 4 players with the multi-tap. And you have basketball and soccer, or football for European listeners. And it's really fun. I did play this game, and I just think it's really cool to be running around as the different Tiny Toons characters, and they each have their own unique feel. And being able to play basketball or soccer, football, is really cool in one game. So definitely a fun game if you just want to have some fun for a little short period of time. Definitely something to do. So that's the Sega exclusives. Stay tuned for part 2. One love.